Your work was simply magnificent. Every masterpiece has a crack. Hello everyone, I'm Scott, and welcome to Echo VFX. Before we start, a very important note. In this video, we won't be discussing Mafia 4's story or gameplay. Our entire focus is on the game's cutscenes and cinematics, the place where a project's peak artistry and technology are meant to shine. Mafia 4 presents us with an incredibly fascinating technical puzzle, a stunning contrast between the game's world and its characters. On one hand, we have a masterpiece in world building. The heavy atmosphere, the environmental detail brought to life by Nanite, and the phenomenal lighting achieved with Lumen, it's all genuinely world-class. But when the camera pushes in on the characters in these same cinematics, it's like we've entered an entirely different technical world. Why does this contrast exist? I've spent hours investigating this, and I've come to some conclusions that I guarantee will astonish you. Our goal at Echo VFX is to dissect this contrast and see which technical and artistic details allowed certain parts to shine, and which decisions or oversights ended up hurting the rest. This is a case study designed to help you and I learn how to avoid this major pitfall in our own future projects. So stay with me. The stage is set. Let's begin with where Mafia 4 truly shines. And now for the first strength, the environment design. Let's be clear. For environment designers, the Unreal Engine, especially with its vast, unparalleled marketplace, is an absolute paradise, an endless treasure chest. But the real magic happens when technologies like Nanite allow developers to pack in infinite detail without fearing frame drops, and Lumen, like a master lighting artist, breathes soul and atmosphere into those details. However, having the world's best paintbrush is one thing. Being the artist who can create a masterpiece is something else entirely. And the Mafia 4 development team has proven they are the latter. They've harnessed this raw power to its fullest potential, building a world that isn't just a beautiful backdrop, it's a living, breathing character with a story in every alley and on every street corner, an environment truly worthy of an incredible game. So a huge and heartfelt hats off to the game's environment design team. Your work was simply magnificent. But what breathes soul into this perfect canvas is the lighting. We're not just dealing with a technical lighting system here. We're facing a bold artistic choice. That yellow and golden theme draped over the entire game isn't just a simple filter, it's the game's visual signature. A nostalgic, warm feeling that throws you directly into the heart of the golden age of Mafia films, and I absolutely loved it. And this artistry reaches its peak in the play of shadows. In certain scenes, the stark contrast between light and dark creates a stunning theater. The light cutting through a window, or the long, dark shadows in a back alley that scream danger. It's not just about seeing. It's about feeling.
Tenfold. Now leave.
So now we have a perfect stage, a world full of detail, artfully lit to be dripping with drama and atmosphere. We have a beautiful world brought to life with dramatic light. But where are our eyes to see this beauty? Where does the game's camera take us? Alright, let's get to the direction and camera angles. The development team completely understood that in a Mafia game, the camera needs to give you a sense of power. The angles, especially in the cinematics, are perfectly calculated to place you at the center of power. But what truly amazed me was the dynamic camera during gameplay itself. The camera doesn't just follow you, it actively narrates the story. In quiet moments, it uses magnificent establishing shots to give you space to appreciate the grandeur of the environment. And at the height of a conflict, with its shakes and clever angles, it injects adrenaline right into your bloodstream. Every moment of the game feels like a cinematic take. So, what we have here is a world that, visually and atmospherically, is an absolute masterpiece. The lighting, the art direction, and the camera angles all converge to create one of the most memorable game worlds in recent years. But, as we all know, a great game is more than just its looks, and Mafia 4, for all its grandeur, falters in a few key areas. And as someone who has spent hours living on these city streets, I feel it's my duty to be just as direct about its flaws. So, let's take a look at the other side of the coin. All right, let's start with the first flaw that catches the eye right at the beginning of the game: the physics. Specifically, the details that were supposed to bring the world to life, but in practice, make it feel strangely artificial. Early in the game, there's a key scene where our character tosses a few coins on ground. This moment could have been a small but powerful demonstration of the game's physics engine. Instead, it becomes one of the most glaring technical moments in the game. Instead of landing with a sense of weight, tumbling and colliding with each other, the coins just stick to the surface like a bunch of plastic stickers. Technically speaking, what we're witnessing here isn't a true physics simulation. It seems that for these small dynamic objects, the game's physics engine is either completely disabled or set to its most rudimentary state. In a modern engine, every object needs specific parameters for natural behavior: mass, which defines the object's weight and inertia; gravity, which pulls them down; and a collision response, which defines how an object behaves after making contact with another surface, like bouncing, rolling, or sliding. In this scene, the coins in Mafia 4 seem to only have the gravity parameter. They lack weight, volume, and physical identity. The collision detection system merely registers the contact, but the physical response that follows is bizarrely artificial and incomplete. You might say, it's just a minor flaw. Who cares about the physics of a few coins? But here's the thing. This lack of attention to detail, when placed next to the game's incredibly realistic graphics, creates a massive cognitive dissonance in the player's mind. This isn't just about a few coins, it's a symbol of a larger problem. Just look at this scene from The Witcher 4's demo. See how naturally the apples fall and then roll around? Was implementing such basic details truly that difficult for a team that created such stunning graphics, or did they simply not care enough? But the physics problems in Mafia 4 don't just end with small, solid objects. Let's move on to one of the most complex and challenging elements in any graphics engine: water. The scene where our character crosses a river on horseback might look beautiful at first glance. The water's surface reflects the light nicely, and the environment is serene. But the moment the horse steps into the water, this beautiful illusion shatters, and another major technical issue reveals itself. The first problem is the water splash. This effect is clearly a pre-made particle effect, similar to the generic effects created with systems like Niagara in Unreal Engine. The effect has no meaningful connection to the horse's speed, the water's depth, or the angle of movement. It's just a canned, repetitive animation that plays artificially each time. But the second, bigger problem is the river surface itself. As the horse and rider, with all their mass, move through the water, the surface shows absolutely no reaction. It's as if the horse is moving through a static glass-like image. No waves form around it, no ripples are created, and no wake is left behind. The water has no volume or resistance. Of course, we have to be fair. Real-time fluid simulation is one of the most computationally expensive and demanding processes in video games. That's why, to this day, most games render water artificially. a beautiful surface created with shaders and separate splash effects that fail to convey a sense of physical integration. But this is where the standards of the new generation are changing. What we saw in the initial trailers for Rockstar's GTA 6 promises a revolution in this field. It seems they've managed to implement a fully dynamic water system, water that reacts realistically, volumetrically, and believably to objects, boats, and even rain. Of course, Rockstar had already delivered acceptable water physics in Red Dead Redemption 2, but Rockstar has its own graphics engine, and Unreal Engine still has a long way to go to reach that level of power. However, with the release of version 5.6, it became clear that Epic Games is pursuing a way to render water with maximum realism, which I'll talk about later. Therefore, when Mafia 4 is released with such lifeless and outdated water physics, it's no longer an acceptable technical limitation for everyone, but a clear sign of falling behind the new generation. Instead of a show of power, this scene screams of the development team's weakness in creating a truly interactive world. And now we arrive at the final part of our technical critique: facial animation and emotion. To be honest, I initially planned to feature the facial rendering as one of the game's major strengths, because at first glance, and even the 10th, the work Hangar 13 has done with Unreal Engine is a technical masterpiece. The quality of the models, the details in skin texture, pores, subcutaneous veins, and even the way the skin reacts to environmental lighting are all top tier and look thoroughly next-gen. But while I was discussing the game with a friend, he pointed something out that completely changed my perspective. He said, "Their faces are incredibly realistic, but they have no emotion. They're like moving statues." And it was after he said that I went back and watched the cutscenes again, and he was absolutely right. Here was the problem. The development team focused all their energy on creating a beautiful shell, but they forgot to give that shell a soul. The facial animations are disappointingly limited and lifeless. When a character is angry, they just frown a little. When they're sad, the corners of their mouths just dip slightly. There are none of the vital subtleties like the twitching of facial muscles, the spark in the eyes, the narrowing of the eyes in anger, or that empty, aimless stare in moments of despair. The eyes, which are the windows to the soul, appear dull and dead most of the time. A glassy, fixed stare that fails to connect with the storm of events unfolding in the dialogue and story. This weakness becomes even more apparent when you compare the character expressions to a masterpiece like The Last of Us Part 2, which makes you understand the difference between good motion capture and motion capture that was merely done.
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Here's the technical side of it. Today, with a powerful framework like Epic Games' MetaHuman Creator, developers have tools to create hyper-realistic digital humans with complex muscle rigs. But even if the team used initial motion capture, the process doesn't end there. The next crucial step is the manual artistic editing of the data. Animators can use these technologies to add new layers of emotion, like subtle contractions of the muscles around the eyes, or a quiver of the lip, to the recorded animations. It seems this key stage in Mafia 4's development was either overlooked or handled with minimal care. And this is where that incredible rendering acts as a double-edged sword. Precisely because the faces are so close to reality, the lifelessness of their animations becomes even more noticeable, creating an artificial and unsettling feeling, similar to the phenomenon of the uncanny valley. Ultimately, Mafia 4 delivers faces that are technically stunning, but artistically and emotionally a complete failure. And for that reason, despite the high-fidelity graphics, I have to place this aspect on the list of weaknesses. Alright, let's close the case file on Mafia 4. This project serves as a fantastic case study and a critical lesson for all of us working with Unreal Engine. It's a perfect demonstration of how one can achieve absolute mastery in one aspect of the engine while completely losing the way in another. We are witnessing an undeniable command of the Unreal Engine rendering pipeline. The use of Lumen for dynamic global illumination, the implementation of Nanite to create environments with staggering geometric detail, and the advanced material system that produces a breathtaking visual output. All of this signifies the high technical proficiency of the Hangar 13 team. From this perspective, Mafia 4 is a benchmark and a phenomenal source of inspiration. But this project also comes with a vital reminder. A tool, no matter how powerful, is not a substitute for artistry, meticulousness, and direction. And now I want to continue this discussion with you. In your opinion, which projects, games, animations, or real-time cinematics have managed to strike the perfect balance between hyper-realistic technical rendering and emotive, believable animation? Share your technical experiences and perspectives in the comments below so we can all learn from each other. Until the next technical teardown, stay creative and keep building.